experience the joy of being in the stadium, the excitement of a home run ball. That's what baseball is.
So you're saying I can't just show up to your house and like grill you a hot dog and give you a canned beer and say, here you go?
Well, you can do that too.
Okay, just making sure, because you said you need a hot dog and a beer.
Well, yeah. I may not be watching the baseball game when you come in, but
you'll be watching rollerball.
That's right. I'll be watching rollerball.
Yeah. Well, I just thought that was very interesting how I was thinking about that, because I heard, everyone probably knows this as well, that the next Super Bowl is going to be in Tampa Bay, which is right above us. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a large fest of like fandom and everything like that. Now,
not so sure it's going to happen.
This is true. Here's the thing, though. They announced, I'm going back to March, April, when we were starting to close things down, and they were talking about the Super Bowl. They were saying that they're going to follow guidelines where people can come in, they can sit at their seat, they're not allowed to move the whole time, and when the game is officially over, everyone will be up and escorted out by rows. Just like you would do like in Catholic school or something where they'd say, this row can go, this row can go. Can you actually see that happening? Because I have to be honest. I've gone to spectator sports shows, but I like to leave 5-10 minutes early because I'm not dealing with that traffic.
Well, it's not even the traffic, though. That, in a way, I can see where that might slow down traffic a little bit. You would have a little less crowded road, I assume, unless everybody just gets to the parking lot and hangs out.
No, a lot of people, I have to say, is they, depending on their team, if their team is losing, they automatically say, I'm done, I'm going to walk. And they go to their car, they leave, they turn on the station that has the show, or the sports show going on, and they can still hear what's going on, even though they already know their team either going to win, lose, whatever.
Well, it's a good case for tailgate parties, but even so, how are you going to be able to socialize having tailgate parties if you're supposed to be 6 feet apart from everybody?
Well, we just talked about it with certain stores, with people not abiding by certain distance rules and all this other stuff.
Yeah, it's not happening.
No. People are going to do what they want to do, and it is what it is.
Well,
you just have to be careful.
We're not cows. We're not used to being herded. People don't like being in a cattle call to go anywhere, even to the bank. Oh, forget amusement parks. That takes hours to get on a ride. If I go to Orlando, I pick one ride because I know I'm going to be there all day. So bring me food, bring me things to drink. That way, it makes my journey a little better.
True. And, my friend just went to Disney like 2 weeks ago, and she had to reserve her time to get in there. She was taking pictures and video. Empty. The Magic Kingdom was completely empty. And I said, now's the time, people, go for the rides.
Go for the rides. That's right. I see that travelers from nearly 2/3 of the U.S. will now have to self-quarantine when they enter New York, no matter what.
Interesting.
We are going to talk more about that when we come back right after these words.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult and trying personal problems every day on my TV show, but there's one problem that's just got me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. That's 1 in 5 kids who may not know where their next meal is coming from, despite the fact that there's more than enough healthy, nutritious food out there to feed them all. Now, I don't know about you, but that is unacceptable to me. Luckily, the Feeding America network of good people is out there collecting surplus food and giving hope to hungry children and their families at local food banks all across the country. But let's face it, they can't do it without your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Thanks for joining us again. You're listening to Kiss My Keister on Society Bites Radio, and we're so glad that you stopped in to listen. As we left you right before our sponsor, we were talking about travelers from nearly 2/3 of the country going to New York that are going to have to self-quarantine when they get there, which means that your 2-week vacation just now became 30 days. So if anybody out there is actually contemplating a trip to New York, get in touch with the station at 941-447-9965 because we would really love to hear about it. Or you can email me at programdirector@societybytes.radio.com. Send us your comments and your questions and your concerns about how you're dealing with COVID this year because it sure has affected everybody. Joe, what do you got to add to that?
So I have to say, the whole self-quarantine thing, I get it, you have to do it and everything like this, but I know a friend who I haven't talked to, I talked to him still over the phone, but I haven't been in contact with them. They went over to California to visit a friend. They came back and had to do a 2-week quarantine. They got tested for COVID, came back positive, and they said, this can't be right. So they went and got another test to get tested for COVID, came back negative. So that's a little fishy. Something's wrong with the testing process somewhere. I don't know where it is. Or something's wrong. I don't know. But I just found that very interesting. And we talk about numbers.
Well, conspiracy theorists, I'm not sure how to say that word, but they have a theory that the tests are what's infecting people.
I have not heard that, but I heard something similar to it a little bit is I am all about getting my vaccination every year for the flu shot because I have asthma and allergies and I'm susceptible. And I have to say, since I've gotten it every year, I've gotten the flu, but the thing is, the flu only affects me for 3 days and it's done. I don't have to worry about anything else like that. But someone was telling me that this year the COVID was smuggled into the vaccine, so anyone that got a flu shot got COVID. So if that's true,
I'm confused. I don't get it either. If we have to follow that, then we have to go to the same theory that our government is infecting us for a reason. What would that reason be? Let me think. Greed? Power?
Well, I'm thinking it could be more control. To see how people react, because as you stated earlier, people are cows, but I don't think we're cows. I think we're more sheep, because I believe that from what I've seen over the years, that you tell someone to do something, they'll do it as long as they follow it. And when you follow a certain politician, doesn't matter, governor, senator, doesn't matter who it is, if they say to do this, people just jump and say that person's 100%.
Boy, am I the black sheep already. Because I will not do a lot of things just because they told me I had to.
Exactly. And I think that's the weirdest thing, because if you remember, America was founded by the people for the people. So therefore, Americans should stand up and say, hey, look, no, this is what we got. But that's a different story in itself. But yeah, I just think it's so weird how I think there's conspiracy. I think there's some. And the wildest thing is, people are saying it right now, we are in an election year. This is the biggest election tool for anyone to use.
Absolutely it is. And I have a feeling that we probably know who's in charge of these. However, I'm not blaming anybody in particular, but I don't know. I think you're fired.
Well,
we're done.
The funniest thing is, and I'll get off my step stool after this, but anyway, the funniest thing I want to say to this is multiple times we've had, I can't remember, it was either Congress or Senate, said they were going on strike, and they were out, and it shut down the post office, national parks, and all this other stuff. At this point in time, I would have said, you know what? You're stepping down, you're out of the business. Goodbye. We're going to get new people in there that can do your job. Goodbye. Because if I tried to go on strike at my job, they would have told me to leave. They'll find someone. So guess what?
Oh, yeah.
You can go.
Oh, yeah.
We'll find someone better that can do your job.
Well, I was always raised to believe there was 10 people behind you waiting to take your job. So if you don't want it, somebody else will.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter what the pay is.
This is true.
Now, I have to tell you, I was a little concerned one day. I saw this fella out requesting monetary value from vehicles at a corner. The one thing that I noticed was he didn't have a mask. Now, I didn't give him any money, but I did give him a mask. So hopefully...
Well, at least you were health conscious for doing it.
I was health conscious because I figure if he's going to get drunk and he's going to fall over in a ditch somewhere, at least he won't catch corona.
You know, I want to do a social experiment because we call them panhandlers. We see them all over the place. I want to do a social experiment and have a sign that says, what color socks am I wearing? And actually see if people are actually reading the signs or not. Because then I'm going to have different color socks.
Find out how much money you get?
I don't want to get money. I just want to see how many people actually read the signs. Because you think about the signs, people see the signs and they just turn their head and they don't even think about the person. So it's a good social experiment.
Yes, it is. You're absolutely right. And we'll have to just give you a mic so you can talk to the drivers as they come by.
Yeah, be like, hey, you didn't read my sign.
Is there anything besides coronavirus going on these days?
So here you go. This is a big one. Well, not really too big, but it kind of shifts the subject a little bit. But invasion of the threat of the giant Asian hornets. So,
oh, God, that's another one.
Well, there you go. I just saw this article the other day, but basically the large hornets from Asia have now come over on cargo ships. They figure out, and they're over in Seattle and Washington State and all that stuff, and they're killing beehives. Because what they do is they go into the beehive, because they're huge, they're 2.5 inches long.
So we have gorilla wasps.
Yeah. So basically they come in, they go to the bees, they go into their hives, they kill all the bees, they go right to the babies, they eat their babies and take them to their young, but they annihilate the whole hive. So now beekeepers are like, man, my bees are dying. The bees are already endangered, people. Now we got giant wasps.
Now, do we know how big these things really are?
2.5 inches.
2.5 inches.
They're huge.
Now, I saw that same picture on Facebook. Elementary photography will tell you how to make a bug look 2.5 feet or 2.5 inches.
Well, feet to inches is too big.
Hey, think about those dogs. They say biggest dog in the world. The owner is standing 10 feet behind the animal, and you're taking the shot upwards, so you know the animal's not that big. It's the oldest trick in photography.
It's true, but like I said, if I was going to make a 2-foot wasp versus 2.5-inch wasp, there's a big difference in there.
Okay, good point. I just want to know who the person was that was brave enough to hold 3 or 4 of those in his hand and then let somebody take a picture.
No, I think what probably happened is, and I saw the pictures, they're dead wasps. So they either killed them.
Well, you hope they're dead.
Well, yeah, they're dead because they pierced them with like a little pin or whatever. So they're dead, but they're measuring them.
Oh, well.
But that kind of brings on another thing, which is, I have to say, 40 years later, Airplane the movie still holds its own with its age, but it's still relevant. And the relevance is that we can still have fun and make fun without being, so
critical
into ourselves. Because if you remember Airplane, it was so bad with so many stereotypes, but it was so funny.
I think it had every stereotype you could imagine in it. And, kudos to Barbara Billingsley.
This is
She
true.
was awesome. I would have never believed she could have pulled that off, but she sure did.
Oh, there were great people in that movie, and I still remember the whole thing with the doctor and the food poisoning, and then they're shaking the person, smacking the person, and everyone's in line to smack the person. I'm like, could you see smacking a person on a plane now? They'd be like, all right, sir, you're going to jail for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see somebody try to get away with that.
But if you haven't seen the movie Airplane, go see it, and just take your critic self out of the picture and just watch it for what it is.
Just go for have some fun.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd say go to Blockbuster, but we don't have those anymore.
Oh God, I miss Blockbuster. It was such a great time.
It was such a good deal. You could buy 8 or 10 movies to rent for the weekend and never have a dull moment.
Now, see, I don't know if this is true, but I heard a rumor that when Netflix first came out and they were trying to get their